Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
Would you support a mandatory retirement age of 75 for U.S. House, U.S. Senate and us Supreme Court justices, and if not, why? 70 and as for president, no one can run over 65 FFS. Get with the program, folks, just retire. I personally believe 65 should be the age we see everyone retire at. This should also be the age limit for the government officials in office to help set that precedent. I personally believe 65 should be the age we see everyone retire at. I mean, 62 is retirement age. Just that a ton of people can't afford to actually retire at that age. Edit, 62 is early retirement. Thank you to the 150 people who told me. Yes, we have age minimums. We need maximum age limits. These people are making decisions for a future they won't be involved in. If ageism is in place at the low end, it should also be in place at the high end. Especially since I think plenty of 34-year-olds are very much valid as president, which has a hard requirement of 35. And yet we have Chuck Grassley, at age 89 and a total shitbird, cruising along in the Senate without a care. Age requirement of 65. 2-term limit. Congress people serve 4-year instead of 2-year terms. And no campaigning more than 60 days before the election. And candidates can only use funds provided by public funds, tiered for each stage of the election process, with strict reporting requirements on how that money is spent. That's what's happening in France. We have a former president on trial for illegal funds. Yes, we need people who are in good mental shape to lead the country. And at around that age, cognitive decline becomes more noticeable in many people. I agree. Who seeks out an 80-year-old surgeon or any professional? Some are good, but you don't go looking for them. We do have a minimum age for senator and U.S. president. Too bad the founding fathers didn't have the foresight to include a maximum age. I had a mid-70s orthodontist who was amazing, sharp, skilled, and caring. But for running the country? Yeah, cap it. I am 82 years old. Personally, I feel that anyone my age who still gets off on power needs to be kept away from normal people. But to the point of this post, the world has been run by old people since the beginning of our species. And just look at the place. Yes, if you were intelligent to begin with, your wisdom and common sense will increase with age. But so will your cynicism. If you were a young jackass, you will become an old jackass, and a hidebound, prejudiced old jackass at that. Give them a nice pension at 70, with the condition that if they mess with politics or government again, they lose the pension. Just read your bio and laughed out loud. You, semi-chiasm for president. Wait, shit. Terms limits for all of them, including the Supreme Court, would be fairer. Let voters decide if they should serve rather than age restrictions. There are tangible benefits to not having term limits to Supreme Court justices. The problem, in my opinion, is the ease by which justice appointments can be gamified by politicians with malicious intent. If we solve the gamification of the Supreme Court, I don't think we need term limits there. Term limits may serve to render the Supreme Court a politically tied entity, which it ostensibly should not be. The tangible benefit used to be secure knowledge of Supreme Court judges being immune to influence due to job security. That's not the case anymore. No, the problem isn't age, it's our election system. Politicians get old in office because it's so fucking hard to vote him out. End legal bribery. End FPTP. And we'll see a much healthier turnover in our political processes. Yeah. I mean, have you seen the type of young people we have in Congress? If you're on the left, I'm talking about Matt Gaetz, MTG, Cawthorn, Lauren Boebert. If you're on the right, I'm talking about the squad. Young people obviously should be included. Their voice matters, but having the Hoyers of Congress is what keeps the damn place actually operational. They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two. Upvoted for so many salient points tucked into a reply. I grew up in Michigan, where term limits, especially in the House, mean that no one has much experience and everyone is looking for the next job from day one. IMO it has increased the power of lobbyists, not the people. I feel like if we were to attach an age to it, it should be the age of retirement. But I feel like it would be more important to have term limits. Limits would fix almost all the same issues and address more, without arbitrarily deciding someone is too old to serve the state. Term limits implemented very carefully and sufficiently long may help address some issues. But they're not the silver bullet you might expect. When they instituted term limits in, I believe, Michigan, it resulted in inexperienced lawmakers who relied on input from industry to craft legislation. They couldn't stay on long enough to gain the experience needed to govern effectively. And they couldn't learn enough to have a complete understanding of the issues in front of them. In addition, it's ripe for political positions to become a corrupt pipeline for people to move from office into an executive role in industry. For the lawmakers, if their term limited to a short window, They have little incentive to serve their constituents, because they won't be in another election, and a perverse incentive to kowtow to industry interests in order to set themselves for a cushy job post leaving office. And on top of that, they keep their connections in the State House and become the next round of lobbyists to a new generation of inexperienced lawmakers. I wish term limits were a simple, effective solution towards repairing our political institutions. But the issue is significantly more complicated. Also, experience and being beholden to your constituents are good for governance. Actually, no need to give more incentive to raise the retirement age.